Official Rob Brown lockdown. Represents being real. Yeah. Manufactured locally for the Carolinas. This is the Rob Brown Show. Get Rob. Only on the fan upstairs.
See, the show sounds better already. Ladies and gentlemen, hang the banners, blow the trumpets, throw the confetti high. The prodigal son has returned. The great one is back. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show is on your radio. This is the Rob Brown Show with, of course, the great one, Lonzo, sitting back in his rightful throne, the air chair occupied by the Wizard of Wave and the Professor of Perfection. Zoe's back in the building. Hey, man.
The reports of my demise have been
mildly exaggerated.
Catastrophic, though nearly true. Yes, I am alive. You can't tell by my voice, but you can see me. So unless I'm an animatronic, which is a possibility, I'm here.
James said, by God, that's Lonzo's music. I love it. Welcome back, buddy. How you doing? How you feeling? How you been? What's new, fun, and exciting, man?
Well, this time a week ago, I was in the hospital thinking I was going to die. So, I mean,
on a scale of 1 to 10, how literal was that?
I've wanted to die before because of gout pain.
Yeah.
I mean, I just like, I don't know if I could take this. In this case, I'm not coloring the situation. I've never been in a position where I thought, this is what dying feels like. And I was not a fan of said feeling.
Not to be morbid, but out of curiosity, like, did you have a this is it moment? Like, was there a point when you were like, oh, crap?
So the first 2 days when I was at home, I couldn't eat anything. And I'm going to be graphic here, extreme diarrhea. But I could not eat food because I was also throwing up. And when I wasn't throwing up, I was dry retching.
That's the worst.
Yes, it is.
I'd rather just get it out.
It's like, come on, if you would just come out of here, then if that demon would just get in this bowl here, I probably would feel better, but it didn't happen. So we called the teledoc. The teledoc said, it sounds like your appendix. You need to go to the emergency room now. So we did. I would just a word of warning, kids. If you go to an emergency room that's not actually attached to a hospital and you have to go to the hospital, they're going to have to transfer you. So keep that in mind. So we were at that hospital or that emergency room for like 4 hours, and while they gave me pain medications. It was really bad pain too. On top of that, it felt like, I don't know, felt like Draymond Green grinding his boot into my lower abdomen, full on weight. And so after 4 hours there, they decided to transfer me because the surgeon looked at the things and they were thinking about taking my appendix. So I got into a unfortunate ambulance because the hospital was connected to a hospital across town, which took like a half hour to get to. And I was driving the car was Fuzzy Zeller, or the ambulance. In the back of the ambulance was the star of Tokyo Drift. So, I mean, I know it's oddly specific. So I then proceeded to hold on for dear life as they hit every single bump. When we went around a corner, I was not strapped in good. I was about to go in the floor every single time. So get to the hospital and the surgeon says, because we may have to take your appendix rather, because it's puffy. So I got a fat appendix. So I got
a sturdy appendix.
I do. He's like, it's nothing. He's like, some people have fatter appendixes than others. So I got that going for me. I got a fat appendix.
Babe, I'm not gaining weight. I'm just big appendixed.
Yeah, there we go. So also my colon was messed up from the thing. And so he did not want to do surgery. But because they had to wait till a bunch of labs got back and things like that, I was not allowed to eat. So I didn't eat anything from Tuesday till Saturday. So you see people kept alive in a bed by being fed intravenously. That's what I was going through. And so that will sap a lot of what you have. My voice is strong compared to what it was Wednesday. My wife had to be there to speak for me because I just couldn't talk. So there's a lot more sordid details. But anyway, they didn't take my appendix. I am on the mend, but I don't, strength-wise, I'm still not there. So
a lot. So ladies and gentlemen, what he just gave you was the clean version. That was the radio-friendly version. Lonzo and I were texting on, I think, Saturday night, and he's going through this list of things that are going on. He's like, I got this, I got that, I got this, I got that. And I'm like, that's miserable. And then he sticks on the end, and the TV in my hospital room doesn't work.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that.
And I was like, oh, well, now I'd give up.
So you stare at the walls. And how hospitals work, they come in every 2 hours, so it's impossible to get any rest, even if you can. As soon as you get into deepest sleep, someone will come in and turn the light on. Are you okay? No, I'm not freaking okay. You just woke me up. I'm in a room without a TV. I feel like I'm dying. Quit asking me if I'm okay. I didn't have that attitude because I didn't have the strength to have that attitude.
Ladies and gentlemen.
And plus, I know to be nice to the people who are taking care of me.
How do you work out appendix so you don't have a fat appendix?
I don't know, but it's puffy.
It's a puffy appendix, ladies and gentlemen. Well, we're glad you're back, man.
It's my P. Diddy appendix.
Do want to sincerely thank Brandon, who did yeoman's work filling in the last handful of days for the great one so he could rest and recover and get back. But man, we are glad to have you back, buddy.
I am glad to be back. I'll be more glad to be back next week.
I believe that. Little one more weekend of Zelda and chill isn't gonna hurt anybody.
Yeah, Zelda's for children.
Lonzo he didn't take a day off for the drop of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. He took a week.
Hey, the brain and the snark still works. The delivery's just not there.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a lot to talk about outside of Lonzo's fat appendix.
Can I one thing really quick? Thank you to everybody who reached out and asked if I was okay, and thank you for your thoughts and prayers. I really appreciated it, especially since my phone is all I had. So seeing constant that you're thinking of me, it means a whole lot.
Absolutely. Or the entire time. Glad to have you back. The great one makes his triumphant return. The rain clouds have cleared. The sunshine heralds the return of the Air Chair King. Ladies and gentlemen, busy day on the radio broadcast today. A lot of stuff we need to get into. That obviously keeps it all into perspective about the fact that sports are just supposed to be fun and light, but we're still a sports station. You know, we got to get to it, ladies and gentlemen, and let us dive right in and start, of course, because it has been the conversation of the day, well, for multiple days now. It is the discussions ongoing around the Atlantic Coast Conference and its football member institutions. We got a report on Monday from Ross Dellinger of Sports Illustrated, who is currently down in Amelia Island, Florida, just north of Jacksonville, the worst place in America. And he reported on Monday that the ACC had not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, not six, but 7 member institutions that all had lawyers gathering around and trying to figure out just how airtight the grant of rights agreement signed with ESPN actually is. Effectively trying to figure out, is there a way for us to get out of the GOR that would allow the ACC to negotiate more lucrative television rights in order to move on and hopefully keep those institutions competitively funded through television rights deals in a way that would stay competitive with the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten Conference in the future. Yesterday, Ross Dellinger reported that those 7 schools are done talking, that the aforementioned Magnificent Seven, which wasn't that a Western or like a pseudo-Western?
Yeah, it's been remade, but yeah.
That's the one Chris Pratt was in, right?
He remade that.
Yeah.
I think the original, was it John Wayne? I can't remember. It was someone fairly famous. Maybe it was Yul Brynner.
Let's see.
Because Yul Brynner and John Wayne both look alike, of course.
It was Yul Brynner along with Charles Bronson, Steve McQueen, James Coburn, Eli Wallach, Horst Burkholz, and Robert Vaughn. I guess I got to watch the OG Magnificent. I really like the new one. Except
for Horst. Everybody else in there was famous.
Horst Buchholz?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he was famous in Germany.
Let's see.
So I thought you said horse, but it was Horst.
It's Horst.
Yes. Okay.
Horst.
Because it sounded like you said horse, which makes sense to be in a Western.
He was in 1957's King in Shadow, 1957's The Girl and the Legend with Romy Schneider, Confessions of Felix Krull in 50. Man, my guy was busy in 1957. He was in 5 movies that year. He also starred in Two Worlds, Wet Asphalt, and Osterhung in 1958.
My apologies to Horst. I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Oh, he was in Seven Samurai from 1954.
See, that makes sense because Magnificent Seven was based on Seven Samurai.
I'm sorry. He was not in Seven Samurai. He was in the Magnificent Seven, which is a Western take on Seven Samurai.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And now I got to go watch the OG Magnificent Seven because the remake I thought was really good. I enjoyed it.
I thought so too. Equally as devastating the first one. So not a lot of people make it out of there.
No, but that's kind of the point. Anyway, the Magnificent Seven of the Atlantic Coast Conference have apparently, again, according to Ross Dellinger, broken off group conversations about the possibility of escaping the grant of rights agreement that the ACC has signed with ESPN. And I'm not uber surprised about that. A large reason why is the fact that multiple legislative entities, lawyers, have read through that GOR and have been unable to find a large enough loophole that would allow those 7 schools to exploit and wiggle through and out of. So the GOR escape route seems effectively DOA. There's no way out of that GOR, meaning that the additional funding that those 7 schools are effectively looking for is going to have to come from the conference itself because they're not going to get it out of a television deal renewal. As we mentioned yesterday on the show, the ESPN has all the leverage. All of the chips are stacked on that side of the table. So there is zero reason for ESPN to just offer the ACC more money because they asked nicely. The other aspect of this is, keep in mind for the time being, ESPN is in desperate cost-cutting measures right now. They are cutting talent right now. They are cutting production staff right now, Disney has said that they are cutting 7,000 jobs through either not filling positions or through layoffs. And ESPN sent out a memo that said there will be an impact on them as well. Said in a memo, as we advance as a core segment of Disney with operational control and financial responsibility, we must further identify ways to be efficient and nimble. We will continue to focus our workforce on initiatives that are most closely aligned with our critical priorities and emphasize decision-making and responsibility deeper into the organization. Let me uncorporate speech that for you. The uncorporate speech version is this. We're going to stack more responsibility onto the people that already work for us so that we don't have to pay more people to shoulder that responsibility. Folks who work here, you are going to be asked to do more without additional compensation if you want to work here, because the mouse said we got to spend less money, and the mouse calls the shots.
That's unfortunate, but that happens in a lot of places.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
And the bad part is once you take on another job, it's your job.
Yep. Listen, as somebody who tries to wear as many hats around this building as possible because it is what's best for the station.
Quit trying to take my hats.
Your hats are too big for me. Lonzo's hats are the model they use for all the basketball players that are wearing the big hats now. Those aren't big hats. Those are just Lonzo's hats. The reality is once you take a new job or once you add responsibility, even if you're just picking it up to help, it's going to become your responsibility. And that's what ESPN's saying. But to circle back to where we started with this, ESPN is hemorrhaging money right now, as is Disney. That's why they're going through all of these layoffs. It's the ebb and flow of the entertainment industry. And because they are going through all of this, there is zero reason that they would go, yeah, but we're going to add more money to the ACC deal. Which means that the ACC schools at this point have two options remaining. Option number one is that the power brokers in this conversation, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, can strong arm the Atlantic Coast Conference into overworking their revenue distribution model so that schools get more based on their input into the game, an unequal distribution revenue model. That appears to be a conversation that is taking place right now. But the only leverage they have to force that conversation to take place is a threat to dissolve the ACC. Now, do I think that reality is there? Meh, kinda. I was actually much more confident about it yesterday than I am today.
You know what we'll do? We'll just dissolve one of the worst conferences in all of football. We'll show you. There's only one good team in ACC, and that's Clemson. We're just going to dissolve the ACC. We'll show you. How are they coming from a point of power? Now, if the SEC does this or the Big Ten does this, that's a point of power. But how does the ACC, how is it a point of power?
First off, the power is with the schools that make up the ACC, not the conference. Second off, Florida State made more in revenue than Clemson did last year. Now, is Clemson a better football program right now? Absolutely. Are those tides turning? I don't know. I think Florida State is got a better than average chance of taking the conference title away from Clemson this year. But we'll come to that in a minute. Lonzo, in the entire overall world of sports, fill in the blank. Blank equals power.
Money.
That is correct. Because sports is just like real life. Why? Because it's a business. Money equals power. The ACC's boat don't float without Clemson, Miami, Florida State, and North Carolina. That's where the ACC survives. If Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and North Carolina are unhappy about the percentage of the income that they're getting, they can begin making threats. And all they have to do is convince 4 other schools that they will be better off if the ACC goes away. And remember, why would they want the ACC to go away? Because the grant of rights agreement that is in place with ESPN is authorized by the ACC. If the ACC no longer exists, the grant of rights contract no longer exists, and those schools are then free to effectively sell their brand to the highest bidder that's out there. They only need 4 schools to go along. Notre Dame does count as one of those schools. Notre Dame has got their contract with NBC. It's not as high as Notre Dame would be paid by, say, the Big Ten or the SEC, but Notre Dame is also willing to forfeit a little bit of change every year to maintain their independent status. What does that require? That requires scheduling agreements. Florida State, Notre Dame, North Carolina, Miami could all independently of each other work out a scheduling agreement with Notre Dame to earn their vote. Now the 4 of them only have to get 3 more schools in the ACC to come along. North Carolina could tell NC State, you're coming with us. Wherever we go, we get you an invite or you in. Now 2 more schools. Now we just got to talk about which 2 schools those are. Virginia Tech, perhaps. Duke, perhaps. If they thought an invite to the Big Ten was coming. How does this work out? We're going to keep talking about it. We won't spend the whole show on it today, ladies and gentlemen, but we will continue some level of conversation. So, if you've got thoughts, text them to 71307, 71307, or give us a buzz on the GilstrapFamilyDealerships.com phone line at 844-326-3663. When we come back here in just a minute, I'm going to tell you why I absolutely do believe North Carolina is a massive key player in this and more. I am Rob Brown. The great one, Lonzo, returns to his rightful place on the throne. This time it's actually not made of porcelain. The Rob Brown Show continues after this on the Fan Upstate. Poop jokes, not above the Rob Brown Show's level.
And appreciated. See if I can get there and back.
Text me if not.
Well, if I don't, you just won't have one.
No, that's fair. I'll just start talking. Fair enough.
The door should not be heavy for me. It's all right. My anger will fuel me through being stinking weak.
pressure. Term providers help thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer.
I will have limited banter during breaks,
Yeah,
but I'm talking to them.
I know.
But you can look at me. You're welcome. Now, this is a test. When I'm done, I'll probably have to go home and go to bed, but that's okay. Gotta hope I work my way back to something before Saturday.
There's all kinds of ways to learn. Use Babbel's podcasts or games or videos. You can even join live classes with a language teacher.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Babbel. Évidemment. Go to Babbel.com to try for free. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com. Tired of getting dinged by monthly fees on your checking account? You need Simple Checking from Home Trust Bank. With Simple Checking, you get all the essential checking services for free, including 100% online access and a free Visa debit card.
It's funny, Brandon, because I am texting you right now.
No hoops, no surprises, no monthly fees. Stop by today or call 800-627.
Don't be texting me while I'm texting you. There's less of my grander exterior. Trust me. Unless my scale is wrong. I've lost 15 pounds in a week. I don't think my scale's wrong. So.
Unique and unlike any other sports talk show. It's Bet MGM tonight, Monday through Friday from 7 to 11, only on the Fan. Bet MGM tonight is the friend zone for casual and hardcore sports fans. Live sports betting updates for all of the night's games as they happen. Get the latest scores, sides, totals, props, parlays, futures, and much more.
I did, Trey, and he tried to break my appendix.
But it was too sturdy.
It's too sturdy. My appendix is stronger than Batman's back. So there. Oh, yeah, I should push that. I'm upset, Rob,
What are you upset about, great one?
because I want to dance. I love to dance to this bed. But if I dance to this bed, I'm going to be on the floor.
Lonzo said, is it weird that I'm mad that the door is heavy? Much like the legend of Vox Machina, doors prove to be the greatest enemy of the great one today.
I just want to point out, that is no joke. I am literally angry that the door is heavy.
I would love to say that it's a joke, but the face of fury displayed by the great one when he had to lean the entire body weight to push through the barrier from one room to the next.
Make no mistake, these doors are heavy. They just haven't been heavy. There are some people, some diminutive people who have a little trouble getting through the doors.
Some man's got to get a running start.
Yeah, I've never had that problem till now. So,
But he's here, ladies and gentlemen. He tapped the Play Like a Champion Today sign hanging over the threshold to the studio. Lonzo's got the gear on and he's ready to roll. All right. Let's take one more quick look at the most recent report from Sports Illustrated's Ross Dellinger and Richard Johnson. They are on Amelia Island. That is just outside of the beehole of America, Jacksonville, Florida. They are reporting on the ACC meetings, and they said that yesterday's meeting, of course, we got the news that dropped about the Magnificent Seven. on Monday. It was the day that the ACC meetings started. Monday's meetings, according to reports, pretty much followed the standard opening day. You got addresses from all of the ADs, the school presidents, from Swafford and co. about the state of the conference. Suffice to say, the state of the conference is not great right now. Day 2, not so much. Day 2, they address the multiple elephants in the room, including the Magnificent Seven. Dellinger said that yesterday's meetings went nearly 70 minutes over time, and when finished, administrators and Commissioner Jim Phillips hurriedly left the room and walked past reporters with heads down and little in the way of comment. But there was an interesting twist to the story. Keep in mind, as we have mentioned, that Michael Alford, the athletic director at Florida State, and Graham Neff, the athletic director at Clemson, have been the two most outspoken ACC ADs about the financial issues of their schools within the Atlantic Coast Conference. But it was Alford who dropped a very interesting quote to Dellinger yesterday. He said, quote, "These conversations that we've had in the last 2 days have been the most open and transparent discussions that we've had since I've been in this conference." Now, I haven't been in the conference very long, but talking to others who have been here for many years, they've commented that as well. They've never had this open, transparent discussion amongst the ADs and the commissioner and his staff. The dialogue has been great. People understand the issues. They're really taking a look at how we're going to fix this model that we have in the ACC that would allow us to compete amongst our peers. Now, no big deal there. It was the last line that kind of made me go, huh? When he said, quote, "We're very thrilled about being in this league and we want to stay in it," end quote. Now, just like with any job movement, it is prudent not to talk about leaving your job until you have a new job, right? My old man used to tell me that all the time. Do not leave your job until you have a new job lined up, and do not talk about leaving your job until you have a new job lined up. So, of course, Mike Alford isn't going to come out straight away and say, hell yeah, can't wait to be gone. But Mike Alford has also in the past, a number of times, discussed that the way the league is operating right now is not feasible. It's not feasible. Right now, it is expected that within the next 10 years, and keep in mind, the next grant of rights agreement does not come into play for the Atlantic Coast Conference for 13 more years. If nothing was to change, and it will because the status quo is untenable. If nothing was to change, the next time that the ACC can negotiate their grant of rights agreement, Lonzo, I will be 51 years of age.
How many years did you say?
13. That hurt a little bit, didn't it?
Well, because I'll be 67.
Yeah. That hurt a little. The next
and
time.
My voice will probably permanently sound like
I was going to say, the next time they can negotiate, Lonzo's going to have old man voice, but.
Yeah, well,
That means they could renegotiate it today. I kid because I care. He knows that.
I'm so slow. It wasn't that. I get it like 2 days from now.
It is estimated that by the next time the ACC can negotiate their grant of rights agreement, ACC schools will be making from their conferences between $30 to $40 million less per year than schools in the SEC or the Big Ten. How desperate is it? Alfred pointed out on Monday that when UCF completes their move to the Big 12, UCF, when the Big 12 renegotiates their next grant of rights agreement, is expected to be making more conference revenue than Florida State University and the University of Miami. Damn, dog. If you would have told me at any point up through Monday that there would come a time that UCF was making more conference money than FSU, I would have dismissed you as a lunatic. But here we are, dude. Here we are. Asked what the number needs to look like where FSU, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina would be comfortable, Alfred said, quote, "There's not a magic number. Really, we're looking to make sure we're competitive. You look at the revenue shares of other leagues and how they're going to invest, and you need to be able to stay up to par with some of the changes they're going to do and how they're going to use that revenue. We're the third best media agreement right now. We want to stay the third best. We've been able to compete with them being the third best," end quote. Landis Barber is quoted by Ross Dellinger in this report. He is an attorney at the Raleigh-based Safran law firm who has done a deep dive analysis of the grant of rights agreement. He said, quote, "There's not an easy solution. You could see that if the league is dissolved, then there's no grant of rights agreements. But is this a viable option? Does it really get rid of your TV rights? A big issue is what ESPN's incentive is to let you out of this." Now, I think he respectfully has crossed the wires just a little bit here. I think he's got two different conversations going on here. The first is, as far as I understand it, if the league is dissolved, there is no grant of rights agreements. He said that. I believe that is the case. Then he asked the question, is this a viable option? I'll tell you what's not viable. What's not viable is Clemson and Florida State making $30 to $40 million less per year. Shane Beamer has already got South Carolina catching up with Clemson by most of the measurable metrics. Shane is catching up in recruiting. Shane is catching up in consistency. Shane is catching up in money from boosters into the program. By just about every measurable metric, Shane Beamer is catching Clemson. What do you think would happen right now if Shane Beamer, who is catching up with Clemson by every conceivable metric, was to also have a $35 million budget head start? Probably some pretty good things for South Carolina and some not so great things for Clemson. That's why it's not viable. So you have two options here, I think. Well, you have three options here. Option number one is that you just accept it as your reality. Florida is going to bring in $30 to $40 million more per year through the conference than Florida State and Miami. South Carolina and Georgia and Tennessee are going to bring in 30. Each one of them, by the way, is going to bring in $30 to $40 million more per year than Clemson is. And you accept that as the unfortunate reality that you face. That's not going to do it. Option number 2 is the nuclear option. Tap the red button. It's like, you know how in every nuclear disaster movie, Zoe, you have that scene where the hero breaks in and the only way to stop the nuke is to have one guy on that side of the room turn a key at the same time as that guy on that side of the room, but the guy's by himself. And so he has to give the heartbreaking monologue to the bad guy to get him to change his ways and turn the key with him at the exact right moment.
How accurate do you think that is? They did depict it that way all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know. I can't imagine that seems like a terrible way to handle it, right?
It's probably just a keystroke.
Yeah.
Hit enter now.
So the option is there's 8 keyholes around the room. Clemson's got a key. Florida State's got a key. North Carolina's got a key. Miami's got a key. Notre Dame's got a key. There are 3 other keyholes that have to have the key turned at the exact right time. And the nuclear option for the 4 is to get of the group remaining in the middle of the room, convince 3 of them that it's in their best option to turn the key. Except this time, instead of stopping the nuke, they got to turn 8 keys to drop the nuke on the ACC. That's the nuclear option. The final option is to figure it out. The final option is for schools like Wake Forest, like Duke, like Pittsburgh, like Syracuse to accept taking less money from the GOR to give that money to Clemson and Florida State and Duke and Miami to make them happy. Now, the standard bearers for the ACC are making not the same, because the reality is, unless there is some wild and drastic change, the ACC will never be able to put forward the dinero that the Big Ten and the Southeastern Conference are putting forward to their teams. So you got to get as close as you can. Pitt, Cuse, NC State, Duke, etc. Being willing to come off it a bit and let that spare cash end up in the coffers of the Big Four to get them closer to Big Ten and SEC revenue levels is the final possible option here. And it certainly looks like that's what they are pushing towards. Wake Forest head coach Dave Clawson, remember Wake is not part of the Magnificent Seven, said, quote, if revenue distribution is based on investment in football and on-the-field success, I think that would be great, and I think Wake Forest would be very comfortable with that model. If you base it on your investment in football and winning football games, I think we'd probably end up on the good end of that. Control the controllables. We have made a huge institutional investment in football at Wake Forest. We've invested over $110 million in new facilities over the last 7 years. We're about to open up a brand new $40 million locker room. We've won the second or third, fourth most games in the ACC the last 7 years. We have the second longest bowl streak in the ACC. You know what that sounds like to me? Wake going, guys, I know it's going to sound like we're getting the short end of the stick, but we're better to get the short end of this stick than have the ACC get blown up and we don't know where the hell we're going to make our money from in the future. That's what that sounds like to me. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute, wrap up hour number 1. Your thoughts are welcome. 844-326-3663 on the GillStrapFamilyDealerships.com phone line. Text your thoughts to 71307. Starting with Fan. We're back after this on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
get underway tomorrow. Game 1 between the Hurricanes and Panthers. Carolina hosts games 1 and 2 before the series shifts to South Florida. The winner heads to the Stanley Cup final against either Dallas or Vegas. The college baseball regular season winding down in this week's D1 Baseball Top 25. Wake Forest is the top team in the country. Clemson 7th.
You go see Guardians yet?
South Carolina
I have
13th.
not
Campbell
gone to see
14th.
Guardians
East Carolina
because Courtney
15th.
has been
16th.
sick since
The
she
Rangers
got
beat
home
the
from
Braves
her
7-4
trip.
on Tuesday. Adolis Garcia extended his major league leading RBI
She's
total
making me wait
44
for
with a 2-run homer. Dean Dunning gave up a run over 6 innings with 4 strikeouts and a walk. Ronald Acuna Jr. homered for the 3rd game in a row for the NL East leading Braves, who lost for the 5th time in 6 games. The Fan Upstate is your home for Furman Paladin sports all year long. Download the Odyssey app, search the Fan Upstate, and listen anywhere on your phone. I'm Chuck Sanders with the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate.
You should live your life to the fullest. You hear that all the time, but it's easier said than done when you're in pain, right? Hey, it's Rob Brown. QC Kinetics is in the business of giving people back their quality of life and providing much needed relief for chronic joint pain, but not just providing that relief, it's doing it in the most non-invasive way possible using regenerative treatments from your body's own natural biologics. Where's your joint pain? Is it in your knees, hips, shoulders, your back? Well, QC Kinetics concentrates these impactful treatments right at the source of your pain, directly applying healing properties where you need them the most, and best of all, you walk into the office and right out after treatment. No surgery, no downtime.
You know the worst part about other than not eating for that many days is smelling the meals when they brought it to everybody else.
I believe that entirely.
I don't understand how you're allowed to have ice chips, but you can't drink water.
You're allowed to have ice chips, but you can't drink water. They didn't let you drink water. But you could eat ice chips, which are just hard water.
I don't know. Maybe the psychology is that eating ice takes more effort, so you'll do less. I don't know.
Does it like trick you into thinking you've...
And also trick you into thinking you're eating because of the chewing motion.
That might be it.
Yeah. These are the things you think of when you don't have a TV. And there's a picture of an empty park bench in the fall on the wall. And my wife's like, "Oh, that's pretty." I was like, "No, that's sad. It's like, you know, the fall of life, dead leaves." It's like Cameron walked in and was like, "Man, that's a depressing picture." And one of the nurses said the same thing to me. So.
Instead of just watching your dollars go into your tank, start putting money back into your wallet with the free app from Upside. With the price of gas today, it's big news and big money. To cash out of your
I want to see One Vision of Queen with Mark Martell at Harris Saturday night. It's my weekend with my daughter, and she's 5. You got to be 21 to go. I called and asked if I patted her bottom to make her look like a little because she passed through. The lady said they'd still card her. Is it, I guess 21 because it's at a casino, right? Yeah, that makes sense.
Pistons that push us, the passions that drive us, from the feelings that move us to the places that pull us, on the roads that unite us. With nearly 6,000 stores and over 17,000 auto care centers, Napa has America's largest network of parts and care, here to keep you firing on all cylinders.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C. 3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, any member FDIC. From the Ingalls Market Studio, the Fan.
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
Always live from the free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio. Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Make the Fan Upstate a favorite.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen, wrapping up hour number 1 right here on the radio broadcast. So we'll leave the conference expansion talk here in the first hour of the show. If you'd like to comment on it moving forward, you're certainly welcome to. I think it comes down to this. I'll say this and then I'll put it down to bed. The SEC nor the Big Ten are not going to make, I don't think, any outward and overt plays here. I just don't. I don't think they're going to make any outward and overt plays. I think they are going to be more than happy to just let this whole thing with the ACC ultimately play out. It doesn't really do all that much for them to jump in here. They're not going to start picking and choosing who they want until there's some sort of settlement. They're going to let this thing play the way that it plays. What I am intrigued by, ultimately, is what's the next call within the ACC? I'm not even looking at the other conferences. I'm looking to hear what Jim Phillips is going to say when he speaks publicly about this for the first time. There's nobody who has a bigger incentive to try to pull some sort of deal between all 14 teams together than Jim Phillips. I am interested to see what this, I'm not going to call it a change of heart from Michael Alford, because as I have mentioned multiple times, it is absolutely a smokescreen season for the teams in there. Because listen, FSU, Clemson, Miami, North Carolina, the 4 that are kind of driving this change, they can get what they want without dissolving the ACC. The problem with getting what they want is going to be taking away from the smaller schools without the smaller schools having a problem. Because if enough of the smaller schools band together and go, we're not going to agree to give away our money to you, but we're also not going to agree to blow up the conference, the current status quo is untenable if the ACC wants to remain competitive as a conference and not effectively drop down to being a mid-major, to just stop being a Power 5, or at least being able to compete as if they are a Power 5. So you got a lot of moving parts. You got a lot of vested parties here, all of whom might have different happy final solutions to this puzzle. These ACC meetings over the next couple of days are going to be wildly important. Coming up in the next hour of the show, the NBA draft lottery went down last night. The Charlotte Hornets, so close, yet so far away from winning the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes. We'll talk about what having the number 2 pick means for the Buzz. And coming up in a little under an hour, we're going to be joined by Zach Boyd of the Famously Garnet podcast. What the hell is going on with the Gamecock baseball program? A team that at one point was in the top 5 just lost their second midweek series to Charlotte. What is going on? We'll talk with Zach Boyd about that and more on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-700-6898. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. Call 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform. Meet Ramp, the only corporate card and spend management system designed to help you spend less money so you can make more. Most corporate credit cards offer points as incentives, but those points amount to less than their worth in real cash value. Ramp's business cards offer you cash back, real money.
Crisis averted. Hand thought I should hit record while brain was saying hit save. It's saving now.
Decisions you've ever made. And now get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/sports. Ramp.com/sports. ramp.com/sports.
Want to quickly become dad's favorite? Get him what he really wants for Father's Day. The Upstate Golf Cart. 18 holes at 9 of the best courses in the Upstate. The Preserve at Verde, the Club at Brookstone, Carolina Springs, The Rock, Greer Golf, Rolling Green, just to name a few. And best of all, now through Father's Day, the Upstate Golf Cart is on sale. One for $75 and two for $125. Get your dad one today at upstategolfcart.com. That's upstategolfcart.com.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering professional-grade industrial supplies, plus real-time product availability and access to experts ready to answer your toughest questions. Call clickgrainger.com or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Next up, straight talk from Doug. Ever notice that saying no offense is offensive? Like, no offense, but you're overpaying for your wireless. See? Offensive.
That's the Straight Talk talking. Get unlimited plans as low as $35 a month from Straight Talk on America's most reliable 5G network. Available at Walmart and Walmart.com. On the $35 plan, first 10 gigabytes data at high speed and 2G speeds. Refer to the latest terms at StraightTalk.com based on most first place ranking group metrics, second half 2022 assessments of 125 metrics. Experiences vary, not necessary.
So I'm also trying to limit carbonation to nearly nothing.
Yeah.
Which is hard because that's also saying goodbye to caffeine since I don't drink coffee.
Like a caffeine pill?
No, I'm not going to do that. I'm guessing like Red Bull does it have carbonation in it?
Yeah.
Oh, does it? Okay.
They
Yeah,
make a
they have
actually, you know what?
5 hour energy or something like
Yeah,
that
that's
if
not
I needed it,
carbonated.
but
I want to say Lipton, but somebody makes, I don't know if you like tea.
I
But
do,
they
but
do a
I like it with
caffeinated
sugar
green
in
tea.
it. So yeah.
Green tea has grown on me quite a bit.
I've been almost completely off of caffeine before when I lost all the weight. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to flatten the Diet Dr. Pepper that I brought in just by like leaving it slightly open.
Yeah.
But I've eliminated all the carbonated waters and all peanuts and stuff like that. Found the thing last night where I'm not a yogurt fan, but I'm doing it anyway because it's making my stomach feel better. Mixing yogurt with sugar-free Jell-O.
Yeah.
And it just looks like a dessert. And it actually tastes really good. It's peach yogurt with like some other Jell-O in it. Actually ended up being only 100 calories too. So I'll get back to red meat one of these days.
And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. Our numero dos of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, y'all. I am Rob Brown. The return of the great one is upon us. Lonzo is back in the hizzy as well. How you feeling, buddy? 1 hour in the book, 60 minutes down.
Voice is still feeble. No fixing that. Yeah, I'm getting tired, but that's all right. It's all right. Time to step up. Do the thing. Got 2 more hours. I'm good. It's all about pacing. I didn't do that thing that I said I was going to do. That was all psychology. I didn't burn out in the first 20 minutes. So we're good.
1 period down, 2 to play. It's like the Stanley Cup Conference playoffs.
Yeah, who needs teeth? I'm good. Let's go.
You would be a goon.
Absolutely.
You would be a goon.
I have often thought of what it would feel like to go full speed and just slam someone into the glass and just sit there and look at their face as it just like bounces off of them. Yeah. Oh, that would be an awesome feeling.
I will tell you. So you guys know I do some work for the Swamp Rabbits. I'm in arena entertainment during the game because I'm a clown. And I have to tell you, though, there have been times pregame where just to see how it went, I would run across the ice and throw myself into the glass just to see what a missed body check would feel like. Turns out that while it does wiggle back and forth a little bit, it's a wall. It's a wall.
Yeah. I'm not interested in receiving said check. I want to give it.
Yeah. Not always up to you. Speaking of hacky, NHL Stanley Cup playoffs are on, ladies and gentlemen, and our conference finals are set and scheduled. We have coming up for you the Eastern Conference Finals. Florida versus Carolina. Puck drops on that one tomorrow at 8 p.m. Then on Friday, Dallas on the road at Vegas. Vegas will be the host city in this one. That game is going to be at 8:30 on Friday. And I will simply say that I am more than happy. I would dare say elated that the latest puck drop time in the conference finals on tap right now is 8:30 on Friday night. We have 8 o'clockers, and we have on Sunday, game 2 of the Western Conference Finals, a 3 o'clock drop. The reason I bring this up is because of what happened on Sunday evening. On Sunday evening, ESPN had a scheduled agreement for Sunday Night Baseball. And the Sunday Night Baseball game in question was a game between the Boston Red Sox and the St. Louis Cardinals. The Red Sox, while above 500, are dead last in the American League East. The Cardinals are dead last in the NL Central. So you had a Sunday night baseball matchup between the worst team in the NL Central. Scratch that. I'm sorry. Let me try that again. You had a Sunday night baseball matchup between the worst team in the National League, the St. Louis Cardinals, and the worst team in the AL Beast, the Boston Red Sox. And that game preempted the NHL Stanley Cup Western Conference semifinals Game 7 between Dallas and Seattle. A game, Zoe, which saw the puck drop after 10 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Now, granted, we're Eastern time, so we got the most extreme version of a late drop. But that still was a post 9 p.m. drop in the Central time zone and a post 8 p.m. drop in the mountains. Why? Well, the answer is very simple. The answer is that despite how wrong I feel about it being, even as a guy who hosts a nationally syndicated baseball radio program, Bet for the Cycle, which airs on the BetQL network and is free on the BetQL app Saturdays from noon to 4, alongside professional baseball player Cody Decker and Hayton Ass Mario. Even as a baseball guy who hosts a baseball show nationally every single Saturday, the answer is because whether you like it or hate it, and I hate it, to be honest, because I'm also a hockey guy, a Sunday night baseball matchup between the worst team in the National League and the worst team in the American League East will still draw dramatically better ratings in the same primetime slot as an NHL Stanley Cup Conference semifinals Game 7. I love the Stanley Cup playoffs. It is my second favorite postseason in all of the sports. My favorite postseason is college baseball's postseason. My second is the Stanley Cup, and it's not a big gap betwixt the two. I got asked during that Sunday night baseball matchup when I sent out a angry tweet about why ESPN couldn't have found somewhere else to put this game that would have allowed it to not start at 10, almost 30 at night.
Not trying to, throw water on anything here, but isn't it prime time on the West, though?
It would have been 7:30.
Yeah.
But the game was in Dallas, not Seattle. So
you're still catering to a good portion of at least half, technically, of the audience that there would be.
Dallas is Central Time, which means that game started in Dallas, which is the bigger market than Seattle. That game started at almost 9:30 Dallas time. So if you bought a ticket to that game, you were going to a game on a Sunday night that started at almost 9:30 at night.
Well, the NBA playoff last night technically started around 8:45, I think was tip-off. So, I mean, it's just not – I get what you're saying. Baseball over – it's a little shocking. And ESPN, last time I checked, has multiple channels.
Not baseball over hockey. Because that, yeah, of course. Baseball over conference semifinals Game 7 in a very good series.
Well, it would have to be a good series if it went to Game 7. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
Sorry, let me even
something that actually has meaning as opposed to what 182 games or whatever it is the MLB has.
Look, I understand that regular season games have a diminished value in the grand scope of things for baseball. I'm not going to pretend like any one game is unimportant because we have seen plenty of divisional races that come down to the last game of the season. Games where one result anywhere else in the other 180 plus would have meant it wasn't a tie the last day. But I'll dial that statement down even further. A baseball game between the worst team in the National League versus the worst team, the dead last team in the American League East, over an NHL Stanley Cup Western Conference semifinal Game 7 in a very good series, and you made me wait until almost 10:30 at night Eastern time. You made fans with tickets wait until 9:30 p.m. in their local time zone to drop the puck in that game. And on top of the fact that making me wait till 10:30 at night to drop, almost 10:30 at night to drop the puck on Sunday, also meant that if I was committed to watching the end of that game, I was committed until watching that game until 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, for those of you that don't know Rob Brown, I am what is affectionately referred to as a night owl. I am a night person. I am up too late for my own good. Last night, Lonzo, I was up until 1:30 because when I was flipping channels, looking for whatever comfort show I was going to put on while I fell my sweet head to sleep, I came across an episode of Law and Order: Criminal Intent. And I did not know this, but for a brief period of time, the lead detective in Law and Order: Criminal Intent was played by Jeff Goldblum. So I found myself watching Jeff Goldblum track down a schizophrenic serial killer at 1:15 in the morning.
Just guessing here, but I do believe that all those are on a streaming service that you probably have and could watch at your convenience.
I did not know this was a thing. I mean, I know all the Law and Orders. I'm a big Law and Order fan because I'm old now. Bum bum. SVU, Olivia Benson, that's my girl. Love Livy. I did not know Jeff Goldblum held a primary role on Law and Order: Criminal Intent. I do now, and I will be finding exactly where this was played at. Also, for the record,
First episode in 2001. Nah, that can't be. That's got to be
Law and
the
Order's
whole
been
thing.
on the air since like
No. Talking about the one with him in it.
Criminal Intent. Yeah.
Yeah, but this makes it sound like it went for 10 years.
Let's see here.
Maybe Criminal Intent did go for 10 years. That doesn't mean he was on there for 10.
Bum 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 bum. Original cast members in Law and Order: Criminal Intent. Vincent D'Onofrio was an original cast member. How about that?
Kingpin.
So now, now this is how the brain works. Now I got to find out how long Jeff Goldblum was on the show and when. Because I'm going to tell you, here's why I loved it so much. The episode I watched, I tell the story of a guy who's schizophrenic. He's got 3 personalities in him, right? He's got the personality of a child. He's got the personality of a doctor. That one was the serial killer. And then he's got a personality of like a regular dude, like a house painter, right? And they get to the guy's house. And they like already knew this about him when they get to the guy's house and they're investigating his house and looking for clues and whatever. And it's like every time somebody presented Jeff Goldblum with a new clue to the mystery, he acted like he acted when he realized he was being hunted by velociraptors in that Jurassic Park movie he did.
All right. Everything that I'm seeing says he was on it for 10 years.
He was on that whole 10 years.
Yeah, that's,
Huh. I got 10 years of Law and Order: Criminal Intent to watch through now.
I don't know. Because now it says he was only in 16 episodes. Anyway, the internet.
I was gonna say I don't think that's the case.
The internet lies.
Stupid internet. Stupid internet. Jeff Goldblum joined at the end of season 7 as Detective Zach Nichols. Goldblum was the head of the series with new partner Detective Serena Stevens, played by Saffron Burrows.
By the way, it's on Peacock and Amazon and Apple and YouTube TV. So I know you have the majority of those. So you could
I'm
go
watching
home.
all the Jeff Goldblum now.
You could go home today and just binge watch all the way through.
He's the teddy bear. The teddy bear's a clue. It must be a clue. Has to be a clue.
So Jeff Goldblum
It's just Jeff Goldblum, but with a badge.
Okay.
It was incredible. My dumbass sat there staring at the TV like, dude, you need to be asleep an hour ago. And then the other side of my brain is like, yes, but Jeff is so close to solving the mystery. I have to know where the kidnapped lady is. And Jeff's gonna do it. Anyway, point is, I'm used to staying up late. I got a problem with staying up late. But the thing about staying up late, I read this once in a scientific study because I'm a huge dork. But Zoe, one of the reasons that people become night owls, and I actually agree with this entirely, one of the reasons that people become night owls is because they feel like nighttime is the only time that they actually have full control over their lives and decision making, right? Like during the day. Is it up to you when you get out of bed in the morning? No, you're dictated. You have a schedule dictated to you by your job, by your family, whatever. You're not in control of that decision. Are you controlling what happens during work? No. The overwhelming majority of us have either a boss or responsibilities that dictate, here are the things you're going to do today. When you get home, especially if you've got a partner, you may cooperate on decisions you make together, but let's be real, none of us are fully in control of the decisions. The only time you're in control of your decisions is when? At nighttime. At night. I'm in control of what I snack on, what's on my TV, what video game I'm playing, what website I'm wasting time on. I'm in control of everything. And so for some of us, we thrive in that moment because it's the only time we feel like we're in full control of our lives. But part of that control is that I get to make the decision of, oh, I'm sleepy. I think I go night-night now. I'm sleepy. I'm calling it an evening. Good night, everyone and everything on planet Earth. I'll see you in the morning. Right? Which means if I'm halfway through an episode of Law & Order SVU or Criminal Intent or Criminal Minds or whatever else, it's up to me when I want to turn off Jeff Goldblum and go to sleep. Or if I want to turn off Jeff, but when the hockey's on and it doesn't start at 10:30 and I am invested in this series, me personally, not that I'm a Kraken fan or a Stars fan, but I am a sports talk radio host who has an obligation to watch games. I don't think you can do, respectfully to other people, I don't think you can watch, or I don't think you can do this job and not watch the games. Because I can certainly wake up the next day and read the box stat that says Dallas was 1 for 6 on the power play. But I can't tell you why they were 1 for 6 on the power play. Were they 1 for 6 on the power play because Seattle was doing an excellent job at defending the forecheck, never letting Dallas establish possession? Were they 1 for 6 on the power play because instead of running a set offense with a point man, they were instead trying to utilize the power play to rush into the zone with speed and overwhelm with superior numbers, and Seattle was turning that? Why were they 1 for 6? You got to watch to know that. You can't just guess. And reading other people's write-ups can only take you so far. They're all opinion. So when the game starts at 10:30 and Rob Brown's got to watch it to do his job. Or if you're a Dallas Stars fan who just is pumped to see if your team's going to move on to the Western Conference semifinals, it's not up to me anymore. And I got to stay up till 1 damn o'clock in the morning watching a game. Or later, if it goes OT, as so many of these games have done in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it just kind of sucked that ESPN didn't think there was a priority on hockey, and it's kind of one of those self-fulfilling prophecies. Why won't the sport grow? Why isn't hockey growing faster? Well, probably because arguably the most important game of the 2023 National Hockey League season thus far started at 10:30 on a Sunday night. Lonzo, you think if you've got a 7-8-year-old kid that you're trying to get into hockey, you're going to let him stay up on a Sunday night till 10:30 for a drop?
Having had 2 7 to 8-year-old kids at one point, no.
No. No.
Especially on a, well, I don't know. I'm not even sure I would do it in the summer.
No. Listen, I acknowledge that it is irresponsible of me health-wise to start a game at 10:30 at night. But clearly I don't make the best decisions. You should all make better decisions for your 10-year-old than I do for my 38-year-old self.
You could always DVR it and then get up a little bit earlier and watch the whole thing and stay off your social media, and then you have no idea who won.
No, then I just got to get up earlier in the morning to watch the game.
But at least you have continuous sleep without interruption.
What's the difference in sleeping 4 hours from 1 to 5 versus sleeping 4 hours from 3 to 7? It's the same amount of sleep.
They said there'd be no math problems.
Lonzo's fat appendix is keeping the brain slog
I'm
down.
pretty puffy right now.
That's so weird. What a weird combination of words.
He said it twice. Twice.
All right. Point is, how do these leagues have so many damn problems that I could so easily fix, and I'm an idiot? Hey, NHL, you want to grow? You want the game to get bigger? You want the game to be more popular? Come up with a deal with ESPN where your game doesn't start at 10:30 in a Game 7 in the Western Conference semifinals. How about that? Hey, basketball, you want your game to grow? You want your game to be bigger? Don't create a world in which reporters from The Athletic can make jokes about how you can rig a series to prevent the small market teams from making it to the NBA Finals. Because you know what happened last night? The conspiracy theorists came out in the NBA's Western Conference Finals Game 1. Why? I'll tell you when we come back. This is the Fan Upstate. It's a wonderful show, the Rob Brown Show, and there's a mystery here that will unravel. It's like a C+ Goldblum at best.
It's not bad. You're not matching the tone, but the style for sure.
I can't do it. I don't get it. Immaculate, wonderful. Yeah, yes. The Rob Brown Show is on the Fan Upstate. Back after this, y'all.
You see?
All right, guys, got a live read here. We will be right back. Stick around. Don't go nowhere. All right, we're back. Thanks for hanging out, everybody.
By the way, they finally got the TV working in my hospital room right before I got out.
Yeah.
It was like late Friday night. So I'm thinking, okay, I can watch the Lakers game. They had ESPN2, did not have ESPN1.
Didn't have the main dog?
They did not have ESPN1.
Wow.
No, there are people out there who believe the universe is out to get me, that kind of type of thing. Those people would not have survived that room. How in the world can you have ESPN2 and not have ESPN? It's like Jeff Goldblum meets Rain Man.
Yes, 87 matchsticks. Excellent. Wonderful.
Kmart sucks.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that the podcasted version of the show is available each and every day. It gets uploaded to thefanupstate.com hour by hour. Within minutes of the conclusion of the hour, it goes live on the website at thefanupstate.com. Yesterday, if you missed it, I did, if I may strain an oblique, patting myself on the back, an outstanding job of comparing the current ACC financial crisis to the Game of Thrones series. It was spot on. So if you missed that, go to thefanupstate.com, click on the podcast link, and grab the first and second hour of yesterday's show. The beginning of the second hour is the Game of Thrones references, and they are incredible. Incredible.
Did Brandon get any of it?
He did. I asked him if he watched Game of Thrones after he was kind of staring at me, and he's like, no. And I said, do you know what I'm talking about? He's like, yeah, like I know the general gist of it. But no, he was lost that I went through this spot because that was like 8 minutes into the segment where I'm like, I just realized that there's a good chance a large percentage of my audience is like, shut up, nerd. And in fairness, that's true most of the time.
You hear that walking down the hall.
Correct. Shut up, nerd. However,
Luke Gallows lurking around the corner.
Nerd. However, if you watch Game of Thrones, you were sitting there going, good gosh, Rob's good at this. He nailed it. This is the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is the way. All right. Got a segment coming up next. I'm very, very much looking forward to. We are going to be joined here on the show by Zach Boyd of the Famously Garnet podcast. His pod is available on Wednesdays called the Welcome Home podcast. We're going to talk to him. College baseball is ordinarily a sport that makes its debut on the show around the time of the regionals and then pretty much stays relevant through the regional, super regionals, and College World Series. But we have got to talk Clemson and South Carolina baseball today because they've kind of each had pendulums swinging in the opposite directions. A number of weeks ago, South Carolina was ranked as highly as number 3 in the country. Since then, they have dropped 3 SEC series and 2 midweek contests against very low-level opponents. What in the hell is going on with the Gamecocks? We'll talk with Zach about that in the next segment. And then in the next hour, we'll get to Clemson baseball. Because Clemson baseball, which was struggling earlier in the year, now finds themselves inside the top 10, currently checked in at number 7 with a 35-17 record. They have risen up from number 16 over the past week. South Carolina dropped from 3rd down to 13. They have a 37-14 record, but a pile of those 14 L's have all come lately. The regular season is a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. And the Gamecocks find themselves in a very interesting predicament. We're going to talk about that all coming up later on in the program. So a very short segment here before we get to that spot. let me throw this out real quick, and then we'll take a break. Rory McIlroy, from the inception of the LIV Tour until about 3 days ago, had kind of become the adopted face of the PGA Tour in their headbutting contest with the LIV Tour. But recently, Rory McIlroy seems to have taken a bit of a break from that position, to the point that yesterday at Oak Hill, the beginning of the PGA Championship this weekend, which we also need to spend some time talking about as the boys get teed off on the PGA Championship tomorrow, Rory was seen not only out defending the PGA Tour, but cavorting, socializing with the members of the LIV Tour, including Phil Mickelson, who are in attendance at Oak Hill. And people started asking the question, why? Oh, why would Rory suddenly be all buddy-buddy chummy with the LIV Tour guys when he was so fervently defending the PGA from the LIV Tour over the past year and a half? And there's two answers for that, ladies and gentlemen. One of them makes a lot of sense. The other also makes sense, but is just hilarious. Reason number one is I think Rory McIlroy came to a realization. The creation and badness of the LIV Tour does not suddenly make the PGA Tour this wonderful tour where everything is great and hunky-dory. There are still problems with the PGA Tour. Now, we can get into those in another segment. But I think Rory has made a realization that I've made over the years, and a realization that I really hope a lot of Americans make over the years as well, which is Party A bad does not immediately and necessarily make Party B good. They can both be bad. Bad for different reasons. Maybe one bad for worse reasons than the other one, but still not bad. Rory McIlroy does not receive additional compensation from the PGA Tour to go out and layeth the smackdown on the LIV Tour. And I think Rory's probably recognized that a good chunk of his brain has been focused on white knighting for the PGA Tour. And there's a very, very good chance that Rory's focus has been off of golf, off of his game, and on defending his tour from a tour that's really not a threat anymore. Now, why do I say it's really not a threat anymore? Here's why. Last week, the LIV Tour was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, finishing an event. Dustin Johnson, Columbia's own, by the way, and one of just a handful of golfers on the LIV Tour that you could have reasonably said was a crowd attraction on the PGA Tour. DJ for a number of reasons. Number one, he's married to a supermodel wife. Number two, he's made a lot of money. Number three, he's a multi-tournament champion. And number four, DJ's had his off-the-course issues that have made him kind of a compelling follow. DJ birdied the final hole at the LIV Tour event in Tulsa, Oklahoma to force a three-way playoff with Brandon Grace and Cameron Smith. This tournament, of course, was being aired on the illustrious CW network. CW network has been for many years home of some wonderful shows like...
Don't you do it, Rob. I mean, you want
I think The Flash was originally on CW.
It still is. Don't disparage Flash or Arrow.
Supergirl.
I mean, if you want to disparage like 90210, no, that was Fox. Or the OC or something like that, you go for it.
The point here is the CW for a while was like the second tier network for nerd shows. And as a frequent partaker in nerd shows, that's not a judgment call. I'm just saying the CW, not traditionally known as a sports broadcasting powerhouse.
Now it's just for teen girls, basically.
Basically.
Yeah.
Well, the CW at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, as the LIV Tour was about to go to a sudden death playoff amongst three of their moneymakers, CW stations around the country, Lonzo, just turned off the tournament. Many of them went to syndicated reruns of Family Feud. Many others went to syndicated episodes of The Goldbergs. A few of them straight up cut away to infomercials. Do you understand what kind of television ratings your broadcast gets if the CW decides it is more valuable to them to run infomercials or The Goldbergs or Family Feud?
Wait, so there's an infomercial out there that pays more than the Live Tour?
I mean, in fairness, I'm a big fan of Penn and Teller Fool Us, and the station in New York City went to Fool Us. I love Penn and Teller. KQCW is a CW network that cut away in order to air a syndicated episode of The Neighborhood. Lonzo, you know what The Neighborhood is?
I know I used to live in one. Is it the one with the one dude and then the other dude?
It's the one with that guy.
You know the one
and it's
guy.
about the place with the houses, and they talk about the stuff. That's the one.
Yeah, a week ago I was in the hospital. Give me a break. I'm going to milk it as much as I can.
I respect that.
Yeah.
The answer is no. The only thing I know about The Neighborhood is one of the stars is the funny guy from New Girl. That's it. That's what I know about the show.
Yeah, and with the black dude.
Yeah.
That's been in everything.
It's got the funny Jewish guy from New Girl and the funny black guy from all the other shows, and that's what we know about The Neighborhood.
By the way, I knew the show you were talking about. I just can't think of his name, and I should know. I want to say like Cedric the Entertainer, maybe.
No, he's dead. Isn't he?
No,
I think Cedric's dead.
no,
isn't he?
he's not dead.
Who am I thinking of? No, not Cedric. Who am I thinking of? Bernie Mac. God, I am a terrible person. Bernie Mac was he was one of the best. Anyway.
By the way, just for confirmation, it is Cedric the Entertainer.
Yes. Okay.
So, thank you very much.
So Ced and the funny guy from New Girl, they cut away from the Live Tour to show that instead of the Live Tour. Oh, yeah. Oh, by the way, KQCW, the station in question here, is in Tulsa, where the damn tournament was actually happening. They're like, hey, people in our neighborhood that are watching this tournament on our course that you can go play tomorrow, here's an episode of The Neighborhood instead of the playoff of that tournament. Liv's Tour is doing just great, guys. The Live Tour is just fine. Wink. Let's take a break. When we come back, Zach Boyd from Famously Garnet is going to join us. We'll break down what the hell's going wrong with South Carolina baseball. And we're doing that next on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. All right, guys, we're going to step away while we get Zach on the phone. We will be right back. All right. Thanks for hanging out, dudes and dudettes. You're all lovely people, and we appreciate your presence here today.
You haven't seen most of them. You don't know if they're lovely. Are you talking about the personality?
Personality.
Okay.
You have a lovely personality.
Which I'm sure is what everyone wants to hear. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just so glad to be back. And I'm over halfway. So, yeah.
Whoa.
The fact that Rob couldn't remember a name of somebody should not surprise anybody. As far as actors and stuff goes. I mean, you know.
I'm an idiot. What do you want?
No, I mean, names are hard.
Looks like Mr. Cutoff Man needs a new seat cover. Try eBay Motors, pal. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
From the Ingalls Market Studio.
I have like lumps in my arms where they did the thing. Yeah. Hopefully that goes away.
The Rob Brown Show is back on your radio, ladies and gentlemen. So glad to have you along for the ride. We welcome in now our next guest from famously Garnet. He is the host of the Welcome Home podcast, available on Spotify and iTunes. It drops every other Wednesday and very frequently can be found hosting a Twitter Spaces that I love dropping in on after baseball games for the pure entertainment value alone. He is Zach Boyd joining us here on the show. Zach, what's up, big fella? How you doing, my man?
Gentlemen, what's going on? What's going on, Lonzo? Good to see you back in the studio, Rob. Good to see you back to your old self, man. It's going, man. It's going. Took my son out to the game last night and did not expect to see those results, man. Did not expect to see that at all.
Last night,
I just want to point out that he said you're old.
Yeah, no, we already knew this. Stating the obvious is one of the best parts of the show. Yeah, an 11-9 loss to Charlotte. And Zach, let me start by opening up with the broad question, and then we'll start dialing in. Looking at South Carolina baseball, the most eloquent way that I can put this question to start, I think, is what the hell, man?
Yeah, and, you know, it's a question that even, quite frankly, the players are just confused about right now. I mean, not too many games that not too many games that you score 9 runs, you're going to lose. And you saw last night, this team, they left it all out there. They battled their tails off. And at the end of the day, they just don't have enough to get it done. And this is, like I said, looking back after sweeping Florida, I could not tell you I would have seen, this team in this kind of position where they're at right now.
I'm looking at what is effectively, Zach, a tale of 2 seasons here. You open by beating UMass Lowell by like a combined score of 753-5 in a 3-run series. I'm looking at a 2-game victory over the Clemson Tigers. I'm looking at a 3-game sweep of Bethune-Cookman. I'm looking at a 3-game sweep of Georgia, a 3-game sweep of Missouri, taking 2 out of 3 against Mississippi State. And then you get to the halfway point of the season. Drop 2 out of 3 to Vanderbilt. You did get the sweep over Florida, but you dropped 2 out of 3 to Auburn. You dropped all 3 to Kentucky. You dropped 2 out of 3 to Arkansas. Now, these are decent baseball teams. Arkansas ranked 3 in the country at the time. You got 3 more against Tennessee. That's a top 25 team to try to get right heading into the SEC tournament. But if I asked you to prop it up on what has been the primary issue, to me, what jumps out when the run differentials change this much, specifically from the bad guys, has the starting pitching been the reason here, or is the defense just giving out behind them?
Well, it's a matter of two things. You look at the injuries with Noah Hall. After that happened, it seemed like the bullpen just went the opposite direction. I mean, South Carolina, I saw a stat the other day that they were allowing over 9.00 ERA, and the last X amount of starts. So the pitching's not been there. You know, you look at South Carolina, they scored 7 runs against Kentucky in one of the games, and Kentucky ended up scoring 14 runs in that game. It's a matter of a lot of things, and the injuries have not helped. When you have to take one of the top catchers out of the game and have to put them, you know, at a different position, that just doesn't help you. In South Carolina, they've experienced a lot of injuries. You can't obviously blame everything on that. And you look at Auburn right now, you look back at that series, and Auburn is surging. I mean, they might be the hottest team in the country next to Clemson, as much as I hate to say it. You know, they are on a roll. And it was a very tough, you know, slate, right? You look at Arkansas, Kentucky, guys, those teams, they've only lost 3 or 4 games all season at home. And to go in there was a harder task than I thought it would normally been. And then you look at hitting, right? You look at your all-star freshman, Ethan Petrie, which, hey, man, the guy's still hitting over 375, I believe. His home run total is crazy. I'm not going to bag on the kid. But the last 3 weeks, he's something like 6 out of 35. And his last long ball he hit was in the SEC was against Florida on April 21st. So this team is struggling at the worst time.
You know, slumps are real in baseball. I've been talking baseball a long time. Slumps happen. They happen to the best players in the world. Everybody's going to have one here and there. What loses me, Zach, is team-wide slumps don't happen. And when they do, they certainly don't happen for this long of a run. So what does it take for the Gamecocks to break out of that slump and get this thing pointed in the right direction? We hear all the time, the college baseball postseason is not always won by the best team, but the team that gets the hottest coming into this tournament. There's still time for South Carolina to get right, make a run in the SEC tournament in Hoover and get pointed in the right direction. But what's got to change? Is it a coaching issue? Is it a discipline issue? If I ask you to pin it down, could you do so?
I would tell you this. I don't think it's a discipline. I mean, sure, play discipline. The situational hitting just hasn't been there either. I look at, you know, some of the guys on that team like Mahoney or Wimmer being leaders for these guys on this team. And even for them, it's just a very confusing area where we're at right now. Because these guys, like I said, they were hot, right? They were 17-3. I thought they were 14-3 to start SEC play, which is absolutely insane considering who they played, LSU, Florida. You know, Georgia at the time wasn't very good, but of course they got it. And so where they're at right now, it's just, and you would think it's like get guys healthy, right? Well, McGillis came back last night. He wasn't exactly himself. I sat there right out in right field, kind of witnessed it myself, and left field and witnessed it myself. And it just wasn't what we wanted to see with him coming back. And so, it's that, and it's the team's got to find it in themselves. I mean, a lot of fans are going to point fingers at Mark Kingston, which, hey, I get it. Kingston has not been Ray Tanner since he's been here, right? He's got the super regionals, and that's it. That's the highest he's gotten every year. Since that, he's just, falling back every time. So it's got to be within him, right? And Monty Lee came in, and he got these guys hitting everything they saw. I mean, everything that did was a beach ball, right? Everything they were seeing, they were hitting, crushing. And then we get an SEC play. Some of the guys fall back. Gavin Costas, he falls back. Wimmer, he kind of falls back. They've got to find it in themselves. I don't think it's a discipline issue. This team, you could tell after the game last night, you could tell they wanted it. And they have everything it takes to make this run, right? But they have to bring it all together when it's all said and done. And right now, with the injuries, the bullpen, I don't know if they're going to do it, man.
We are talking, of course, right now to Zach Boyd with Famously Garnet. You can find him on social media at Famously Garnet across all the platforms. He is also a sit-in guest every other Wednesday on the Welcome Home podcast on Spotify and iTunes, which my guy at Cinderella_SC is following along with the interview right now. Make sure you follow them and drop in on their Twitter spaces across Twitter at Famously Garnet, the host of the Welcome Home podcast, Cinderella at Sin with an S, Dorella_SC. Those Twitter spaces are great. You can't do better than a bunch of sports fans sitting around late at night drinking a bourbon and complaining about their baseball team. Zach, my man, great to have you on, big dog. I very much appreciate it. We'll do it again, partner.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Y'all take it easy.
You got it, brother. That is Zach Boyd with Famously Garnet. Again, you can follow him on Twitter there. Make sure that you check out the Welcome Home podcast. It drops bi-weekly with Zach. It also drops new episodes every Monday and Thursday. You can find it on Spotify and iTunes. Let's take a break. We'll come back in the next hour and race through everything we haven't gotten to yet before we hit Twitter trending topics and call it a day on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate.
You ever, as a grown adult, thought, I really want my blankie right now?
Yes. Yes. Last Sunday, I don't know if I picked up whatever Courtney had or if I was just having allergies or what, but Sunday about 3:34 in the afternoon, I was going to say I felt like death warmed over, but I won't compare myself to you at that point. I felt awful. Courtney was in the bed because she still didn't feel great watching TV. And I legit just like curled up next to her, laid my head down on her, and just pulled the blanket up and passed out.
Though, really last night's big winner, earning the right to draft Victor Wembanyama to the draft lottery. And John Moran issued an apology last night after Adam Silver pulled another video of Ja with a gun. Shocking. The league investigation continues. And Yankees pitcher Domingo Germán ejected in the fourth inning of last night's 6-3 win in Toronto for sticky hands. I'm Andrew Bodie.
Have a take. The Jim Rome Show. Weekday afternoons on CBS Sports Radio.
If you're hired, it can feel like you're trying to find a needle in a haystack. You can hope the right person comes along, or you can just use ZipRecruiter. And now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. In fact, ZipRecruiter has helped a lot of business owners find their needle in a haystack, like Marco, president of operations at Telly Tires and Auto Centers. Because Telly Tires has grown a lot in the last few years, Marco needed to hire everyone from a receptionist to a store manager to a head mechanic.
ZipRecruiter helps me find all the right people, even the most difficult jobs to fill. ZipRecruiter helps me keep my business running.
Take it from Marco and millions of other.
The only problem with Snuggies is one size doesn't fit all.
Can help you find the needle.
What? Yeah, dude, the Snuggies are enormous.
So am I.
Fair enough. I respect that.
That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. That's ZipRecruiter.com/RADIO. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. Are you the decision maker in your company? Consider this. For the first time in decades, there's a better option for a corporate card and spend management platform.
So we have this thing at our house for some reason. If humidity is high, having the temperature set at 69 is good. It's good across the house. But if the humidity drops any at all, suddenly it feels like it's 53 degrees in there. And there's no in between. It's also how you know a storm's coming.
Yeah.
Or after a storm or whatever.
So we had a Liberty game last night, and at kickoff, it was blue skies, beautiful sunshine, 73 degrees, like the perfect weather outside. And we got about 40 minutes into the first half. And even though it was nice outside, and I was wearing a jersey shirt, right? Like a workout shirt with the Triumph logo on it. I was pouring sweat. And I'm like, oh God, maybe I am sick, but I felt fine. And then we looked up the weather conditions and it was like 900% humidity.
Yeah.
And I looked over at Easton, the guy that call a game with, and he looks at me and he's like, yeah, it's about to rain. And 73rd minute, it came down.
Learn more at dss.sc.gov. This message is sponsored by the South Carolina Department of Social Services.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things for our planet. When planning your summer vacation, pick a destination close to where you live to limit your use of fuel. When we each share our one thing, it becomes a million things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate prescriptions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/joy. That's 4hims.com/joy for your free
Yes, like I said, I don't know if I don't know if it was allergies. Like Courtney went to the doc on Monday, and they told her it was a viral infection that her body was having a tough time fighting off, and that's why she's been so miserable. So I don't know if I caught that and I just beat, because they said it really wasn't like all that big of a virus, but she just had a bad reaction to it. So I don't know if I caught that and that's what was beating me up, or if it was allergies, because we are kind of in that window where they jump up and bite me twice a year. And away we go, ladies and gentlemen. The third, the final, the best, the money hour of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This, of course, is the Fan Upstate. My name is Rob Brown. Returning to his rightful spot on the throne as the king of the airwaves, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, the great one. The professor of perfection, the sultan of swag, the content cash cow, the wizard of wave himself, Lonzo, is back, y'all.
Well, kind of. I mean, I'm physically here.
Physically back.
Yeah, I am.
I accept that.
I don't know why my voice is gone, but it just is.
You got that old man hospital voice, dude.
Maybe it's from, but I didn't have that thing that they put to help you breathe. You gotta be careful how I say it, because audience will take things the wrong way.
Our illustrious, academic, eloquent, and fancy audience.
Yeah, my brain still works, so there's that. But last Wednesday and Thursday I had zero voice at all, but that was from weakness. So I don't know. Maybe it was the pain medication they gave me stole my voice. I don't know.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, he's here.
Have you ever had fentanyl followed by morphine before?
Can't say that I have.
Yeah.
Can't say that I have, to be quite honest with you.
Barely touched the pain, but the pain finally went away. That's I want to point out how extreme the pain in my stomach was. So
well, listen, let's just make it real simple.
And I don't want to, I was like, do you have to? And it's like, it's going to ease your pain. It's like, yeah, go ahead.
Lonzo and I have a lot of similarities and a lot of differences in our lives. That's what makes us such the dynamic duo, his Batman to my Robin. I almost did it the other way around, but he's quite literally wearing a Batman shirt, so it wouldn't have worked well in this moment. One of the similarities we both have is that if you don't want us to show up to work, you got to damn near kill us.
By the way, Batman, Terry.
Terry.
No, think of Terry McGinnis.
No, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad. So I'm old man. I'm old man Batman. So technically you're Batman.
I accept that.
But you know, I'm kind of
I accept that.
Back in the cave doing the thing.
If you want Batman and Robin not to show up to work, you got to bane us. You got to break the back. That's about the best you're going to do. I've been in 3 years. I have taken 3 sick days. 1 because I broke the front teeth out of my mouth. The other 2 because I was quite literally out of bodily fluids to get rid of.
And see, that's what happened to me. I was not completely dehydrated, but dehydrated, but pretty close.
Yeah.
It was pretty near empty. It was down on my toes.
Yeah, I was just out of everything to get rid of at that point. So the great one fighting through it to get back here and reclaim his rightful spot on the airwaves. All right. This popped up on my feed yesterday, and I found it very interesting, to be honest with you. Warren Sharp is a football analyst who takes a look at numbers, tries to find narratives and stories within professional football by taking a scientific and mathematical approach to the data, the numbers. He is the owner-operator of Sharp Football Analysis. He is a regular contributor to The Ringer and the NFL on Fox, where he puts together a lot of the numbers that go into the pregame packages that you see on Sundays. Warren Sharp took a look at the NFL's 2023 schedule, and he found something that I find to be pretty interesting, to tell you the truth. I stop short of saying that professional sports are rigged, right? I stop short of that. My argument primarily has been two things. Number one, there is some level of evidence, but it's coincidental, consequential evidence, and it doesn't lead up to the standard that I demand. And number two, that's a pretty damn big conspiracy for a lot of people to keep and it never make the public airwaves.
Can we call it possible personal persuasion? So maybe you're not getting an order from a guy, but you've decided on your own, hey, that guy made me mad. I'm going to change the course of this game.
I think it's absolutely possible, and this is why I've said it's one more reason for Skynet to take over baseball, because the umpire getting a traffic ticket or his wife not giving him some sweet loving in the last couple of weeks should not be a variable in a baseball game. Shouldn't be in the NBA either. Well, I do believe that the National Football League, the National Basketball Association, the National Hockey League, Major League Baseball, and pretty much any other sporting entity would not have a problem taking advantage of variables that they do directly control in order to manipulate and massage seasons into ending up the way that they want them to end up. Warren Sharp did a deep dive that I think lines up with that viewpoint. He put all this up on Twitter last night. You can follow him on Twitter at Sharp Football, or if you want to go there and follow along with the segment, here's a good chance for you to do it. There are two aspects of building a schedule that the NFL takes into consideration: who you play, when you play them. The NFL does not control who you play, right? That is based on a rotation of playing the other conferences, a rotation of playing your divisional opponents home and away every year, and a rotation of 3 other teams that you play based on your final season standings from the year before. What the NFL does control is when you play them. Now, the NFL uses a computer to generate a list of possible schedules, but then the NFL picks which of those schedules it likes the most. Sharp points out accurately that the NFL does not control who you play, but they do control when you play them by setting their schedule. And he says that, quote, the 2023 schedule is less fair and equitable at a historic level, end quote. Now, what does that mean? And he put together kind of an interesting analysis of this. He took a look at what he calls net rest. That is the number of days off you have that is greater or lesser than the number of days off that you have or that your opponent has before you play him. So, for instance, if you play a Thursday night football game and your opponent in the following week plays a Sunday game, you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday to rest. You have 9 days rest. Your opponent has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. They have 6 days rest. That is +3 in net rest days, right? Which means that you are going to have some number of days advantage, more rest days built into your schedule than other teams do. Now, this includes if you have a bye week the week before you play a team. You're going to have a full week's rest. That's +7 in the net category, right? Short week road games hurt, et cetera, et cetera. So he went through and he crunched the numbers looking at the entire NFL schedule. In 2023, there will be 95 games played where a team has 1 or more days of rest than their opponent. That is the most in the history of the league. As recently as the late 2000s, the NFL would not schedule 30% of their games where one team had a rest advantage. That means they try to keep it below 3 out of every 10 games where one opponent has a rest schedule longer than the team they're lined up against. Now, obviously, that's going to get more difficult with the addition of Thursday night football. We know that they added Black Friday games onto the schedule this year, so it's going to be more difficult. But the number this year is up over 35%. So we are approaching 4 out of every 10 games where one team has a rest advantage over their opponent.
Does the writer's strike affect how the NFL season is going to go?
Hashtag the script. Sharp points out the lack of balance. For example, last year in 2022, one team played 5 or more games with more rest than their opponent. This year, 5 teams play 5 or more games in their schedule where they have more rest than their opponent.
Does it list who the one team was?
Oh, we're coming to that. Stick with me. Teams playing 5+ games with a rest edge. Last year, 1. This year, 5. Teams playing 0 or 1 game with a rest edge. Last year, there was 1. This year, there's 5. So in the past, you had, at max, 1 team that played 5 or more of their games with a rest advantage. And in the past, you had 1 team that played 0 or only 1 game with a rest advantage. This year, you have 5 teams that have a minimum of 5 games where they have a rest advantage. You have 5 teams that have either no or 1 game where they have a rest advantage. I'd say that's pretty consequential, wouldn't you? I'd also say it's pretty imbalanced. It's not an argument. That's a fact. 5 teams have 5 games or more where they get a rest advantage. 5 teams have no more than 1 game where they have a rest advantage. That's an imbalance the NFL is allowing. This year, the most total positive rest edge is 17 days. That is the most in 35 years. Every team gets 1 bye week. That is 7 days extra rest, which means there are 10 extra days of rest. This year, the most total negative rest edge is 28 days. We'll come to it in a minute. There is 1 team that will have 28 fewer days of rest than the rest of the opponents they lined up against all season. That is a month where they are playing football when their opponents are resting. That is insanity to me. So, how does this shape up? In 2023,
I'm just guessing. So if you're one of the better teams, you're going to get a primetime slot, which will get you more rest.
I have the numbers.
Okay.
because it's not just primetime teams, although you are right going down that path. They're not alone. In 2023, 8 teams playing 5+ games with rest disadvantages. 7 teams will play either 0 or 1 games with rest disadvantages this year. So, where does this start, finish, and end? Here are the teams as they line up. The teams that have a net rest of 12 or more days. The New York Jets are one of them. Lonzo, have there been any interesting storylines with the New York Jets that the NFL might want to dramatize a little bit?
There was that guy who supposedly was washed up and likes darkness or something.
He's a fun guy, Aaron Rodgers.
He is.
He's a fun guy.
Fun.
Mushrooms.
Yeah, no, it's gonna. Let's face it. If I was on top of my game, I still would have missed that one.
Fun guy.
I still would have missed that one.
He does the mushroom. Chicago is one of those teams. Any reason Chicago might be an interesting team they want to prop up? Maybe a new star wide receiver in a market with a young quarterback they're trying to prove is over the hump in a, oh, by the way, stadium in a franchise that's trying to get a new stadium approved. Any reason they might want the Bears to have some extra rest? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because they have an Ohio State quarterback and they should get preferential treatment.
Yo. The Washington Commanders. Bum.
Wait, okay. This is the first one where I go, okay, maybe they just need rest because they're just not that good.
Or maybe the Commanders have new ownership and need a complete brand repackaging for the betterment of the image of the Shield itself.
New name, new owner, new team.
The Jets, the NFL's new darlings. They have one of the greatest, actually the best rest differential in the league. Oh, and by the way, the Jets, the only team in the NFL without a playoff appearance since 2011.
See, here's the thing. If it's about marquee, I don't really have a problem with it. I'm guessing the rest of the NFL who doesn't get that rest, if you're an actual player, probably does. But marquee right now, before the season starts, everyone wants to see what Aaron's going to do with the Jets.
You know who's usually pretty happy about marquee getting treatment? The name on the marquee.
Well, yeah.
Guess who else is towards the top of the list? The Kansas City Chiefs.
But that goes without saying. I mean, they're the best in the world. Won the championships a couple times in recent memory. I mean,
it is.
You push them aside. There's a level that's above everyone else. That's where you put the Chiefs, and then there's everybody else.
The reemergence of Liberob the Woke Warrior is upon thee. No, allow me to go Robin Hood. This can be balanced without a dramatic impact on the schedule, and they just didn't do it, right? The Jets got Aaron Rodgers. He leaves. Oh, by the way, the Green Bay Packers with Jordan Love and no Aaron Rodgers, they have the worst rest edge in the National Football League at -12.
What position does Jordan Love play?
He is, last I checked, a quarterback.
Okay. We don't know for sure, though.
We don't know yet. In the Jets' final 4 AFC East games, at a point in time where they will be fighting likely for a division title if the NFL gets its way, the Jets, Lonzo, have at least 1 extra day of rest against all 3 AFC East teams down the stretch. All 3 divisional games, the Jets have a minimum of 1 extra day of rest before they play those teams. That's a problem. At least to me, it seems like it is. In Week 11, the Jets get to play the Bills after Buffalo plays on Monday Night Football, putting the Bills on a day less rest. Week 15, the Jets take on the Dolphins. Dolphins play on Monday Night Football the week before, just like the Bills do. That's 1 day less rest. And finally, in Week 18, the Jets take on the Patriots. The Jets play on Thursday Night Football the week prior, which means they have 3 full days of rest before they get Bill Belichick in New England. And not accounted in all of that is what happens in Week 12 against the Dolphins. The NFL decided to schedule their first Black Friday game ever. That game, obviously, is the Friday after Thanksgiving. And who did they want to put in a historic matchup on the first Black Friday game, which will always happen in the future because #money, the New York Jets in a divisional game at home in New York City. Oh, and by the way, as a result The Jets' opponent for that game, the Miami Dolphins, are playing on a short week because they've got the Monday game before that, and they got to do it on the road. So not only are they at a net rest disadvantage, but they're on a net rest disadvantage and have to travel to New York to play that Friday nighter. I'm not saying life's got to be fair, but come on, man.
Sucks to be you, Miami.
I actually blew it here, Lonzo. The Chiefs actually get hurt by the schedule. Kansas City will play, allow me to channel my inner Bron here. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 straight games with less rest than their opponents. 6 consecutive games where the Chiefs will be on less rest than the team that they line up against. 6. Even for the Super Bowl champs, that's ridiculous.
Rob, I can't do this with vehemence. I can't do this with power. I can only do it the way that I can do it. That's disrespectful.
Mark it down. Travis Kelce's getting another Lombardi, kids, because the NFL just disrespected the Chiefs. Disrespected the family. You don't do that.
Get Carmine on the phone.
And negative 20 days rush. They have 4 games versus teams coming off of a bye. San Francisco is off short week rest, playing the prior Monday on the road, and Cincinnati is off a bye with 14 days rest in a potential Super Bowl matchup between the Niners and the Bengals. The Niners also play Seattle late in the year, week 14. The Seahawks are coming off the bye after a Thursday night game. San Francisco plays 5 games from week 6 onward versus teams off of a full bye or a mini bye, which is when you have the Thursday nighter the week before. Week 16, San Francisco plays on Monday Night Football. Then they travel across the country for a 1 p.m. kick in D.C. These are brutal. These are brutal. How about this? The Las Vegas Raiders, a team the National Football League would like to do well, right? That's their money franchise. We let you leave Oakland, a historic NFL place, to go to Vegas. We want you to do well.
Unless you're a certain receiver who's no longer happy.
Devontae had a career season, and he's upset. Okay, big fella. Okay. How about this, though? In week 2, the Raiders play Buffalo. Week 3, Pittsburgh. Week 10, the Jets. Week 12, Kansas City. Week 14, Minnesota. Week 16, Kansas City. Twice they get Kansas City, plus all those other 4 teams. All those opponents have one thing in common, Lonzo. All of those opponents will be coming off of a Monday Night Football game, which means the Raiders have a +1. It's really +1.5 since Monday night games are so late. But all of those opponents, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, New York, Kansas City, Minnesota, Kansas City, twice in a 3-week span, Kansas City plays on a Monday Night Football game and then has a short rest to play a divisional Vegas Raiders the next week.
So you don't think, if you were into conspiracy or something, that the powers that be don't want Kansas City to win again?
I don't know. I wonder if there is a bit of fatigue. We've talked about fatigue amongst...
Not on this end.
Well, not for you. Yeah, obviously. So, I don't know, man. I just, I don't get how this power discrepancy has been labeled. By the way, you got to keep in mind, some teams don't get the benefit of a net off the bye because, for instance, the Eagles and the Chiefs on their bye week, Lonzo, their next opponent is also on the bye the same week. So you don't get a net positive from that. A lot of teams get a 7-day boost in the net rest ratings after that. The Chiefs and the Eagles have their bye week opponent, their opponent the week after the bye, also on the bye the same week. So there's no net rest advantage there. So the point of all of this is, I am not trying to say that the NFL is kind of massaging and manipulating the numbers here to get the narratives that they want. But it's hard to say they're not doing that at a point in time where people are already accusing the league of having hashtag the script. If you want to look at those numbers more in depth, at Sharp Football on Twitter, Warren Sharp's handle, at Sharp Football, he put that whole thing together. It's interesting. Let's talk some NBA when we come back on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate.
Tables.
All right, guys, got a live read right here. Y'all stay there. We will be right back.
Term provider, 800-700-6898. Big Lou is intimate.
I want Zoe to get better, but it's about I want him to keep the Zoe father voice.
You know what? I don't, though. I do not. I don't.
Remember, call Big Lou. He's like you, except he's only on number 2. Call Term Provider at 800-700-6898. That's 800-700-6898 for $1 million in term life insurance that you can live with. Call Big Lou at 800-700-6898. 800-700-6898.
Do I even need to talk about Ganouls?
What?
Ganouls. You know Ganoul?
I mean, I know of a good.
All those years, Josie and England have been friends, and you never invited me over for lunch. He used to do this to his enemies all the time. Then they cut his tongue out. In a word, Robin will be dead. D-E-D. Dead. Oh, there's a good shot. If my voice doesn't get better by Saturday, it's 2 hours of Mob. I will write the whole thing as nothing but a big 2-hour Mob skit. I'm guessing T2 cannot do anything Mob related. And saying bro doesn't work in that case. Or I'll have to let Pappy loose. You guys don't want that.
Little Pappy takeover. I recognize this song, Lonzo, because we played it Friday or Monday, and I sat here waiting for the beat to drop. I sat here waiting for the bass to kick in. I sat here waiting for it's not there. It's the selfish rhythm guitar player who needed his moment in the spotlight to come out to riff to the crowd, but not do anything special, and then just stop.
You're getting this all wrong. The name of the song is Bad Attitude, by the way. Here's what's going on.
That's perfectly named for the selfish rhythm guitar player.
The lead guitarist guitar just crapped out in front of a big audience, and the tech on the side is just telling him, keep going, keep going, keep going, while they're trying to get the guitar switched out. And my dude's just looking like, come on, how long?
Looking at the tech like, this is the only riff I learned, man.
How long does it take to fix a guitar? Come on.
Look, I know. I've memorized one scale on the guitar. Everything I solo is within the minor pentatonic scale, which means that like half of the music ever written, I can't do anything over. And the other half, it's like, all right, this is where I am. I'm like right here, which is why anytime that if Rob wants to insert himself into a show, I have like 15 of 30 songs during a show to pick from to go, it's my turn. I get it. I'm just saying, I look like a clown on my own show waiting for the drummer to kick in with a double bass.
Why
And
don't
it
you
never
just
happened.
do the old Who power chord and let it go?
The old Pete Townsend.
Yeah, just let it go. And hold your guitar up and shake it and let it go all the way till the end and then hit another one.
I mean, I guess I coulda, shoulda, woulda. But what are you going to do?
Throw some teeth in there?
Throw some teeth in there?
Yeah, play with your teeth. Just hit a power chord with, can you hit a power chord with your teeth? I don't know if that's possible.
I can't. Most of mine are fake, so
Oh, okay.
it wouldn't work.
We'll take them out and hit it with.
Ever the optimist, the great one, ladies and gentlemen.
That hurt. I should not have done that.
It's going to be a project to get Lonzo through this, but we're going to make it work, folks. We really are. Last night was really interesting. Game number 1, NBA's Western Conference Final. The Nuggets on the back, once again, of Nikola Jokic.
Should
win
be
132-126.
The Nuggets should be afraid, is what they should be, because the way that Los Angeles shot in that first quarter was abysmal. Nothing dropped. They were down by 20 something?
21 at one point.
And then they were able to come back and get that close. If they would have played a little better defense, I think the way they were talking about the air and there was some sickness going around and some stuff like that might have absolutely been possible. But once the shots started dropping, you see how quickly they got back into that game. So if I'm Denver, I'm afraid. If LA plays their number one game, I don't think Denver can beat them. Now, can they find that game for 4 quarters?
I am going to say,
Man, I sound like that guy that's like at the end of his career, but he's still trying to get as much as he can out of his voice because he knows at any moment you got to get that call going. Okay, less is more. You're just about done, buddy.
hang in there, Gramps. We got a lot of show left. There's a couple of things I took away from that game. Number one, Coach Ham needs a ton of credit because that guy, part of the reason that
I'd do anything for that. That guy looks scary. That's a scary looking dude. You don't think so? I mean, it's like if he tells you to do something, be like, yes, sir.
He certainly looks like a guy to be taken seriously to Darvin Ham, right? So I like Darvin Ham, and here's why. The Lakers back at the beginning of the season, you'll remember at one point, were like well out of the hunt in the West. Then they check in as a play-in team. They win through the play-ins, and they end up in the Western Conference Finals. The first half of the season, I truly think the Lakers thought with Braun and AD finally healthy, until he wasn't, we're just going to out-basketball everybody, right? We're just going to be better than everybody. And they weren't. And the Lakers were in trouble. As a Pelicans fan, keep in mind, I was very excited because the Pellies hold the rights to the Lakers' first-round draft pick next year. And for a hot minute there, it looked like the Lakers were going to be a threat to have a pretty decent lottery pick odds at the number one. I was real jacked for a minute there. Looking real jacked, baby. I was excited. Now the Lakers, despite being down one, are in the Western Conference Finals and looked real competitive last night. And last night's game was a microcosm look at the reason why. Darvin Ham is showing you right now. And I think that this gets lost in the modern NBA. It gets lost in the modern NBA that coaching can absolutely make a difference. And Darvin Ham is proving that because it wasn't the Lakers coming out in the second half and playing dramatically better basketball that led to the Lake Show climbing back into this. It was the halftime adjustments of Darvin Ham that led to the Lakers climbing back into this. It was the adjustments to move players off ball and have them stop coming out to the block on ball side when Braun had it, but forcing defenders, including Nikola Jokic, to retreat back to the other side of the floor to open up the floor for LeBron. It made it easier for LeBron to drive the lane and either score or dish the rock. That's why Anthony Davis had the game that he had last night. Darvin Ham made incredible halftime adjustments that took the Lakers from being uninvolved in this basketball game to being uber competitive. Darvin Ham deserves a ton of credit for that. The second thing is that I think the Nuggets got a little anxious there towards the end. The Nuggets at one point had a 21-point lead. With about 4.5 minutes left to play in the game, the Nuggets had a 3-point lead. Part of the reason for that was that another Darvin Ham adjustment defensively. What were they doing? They took Nikola Jokic out of the game. They said, yo, we know Jamal Murray is a star. We know that guy can hoop. But Kenny Hoop without Nikola Jokic as an escape valve, let's find out. So they started pinning Nikola Jokic. They started floating a help defender in his direction so that he did not have even the opportunity to bully ball his way to the rim. And what did the Nuggets start doing? They started panicking. They started jacking up threes with 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds left on the shot clock. There's 2 of them.
They ran out of time. There's a little more time in that game.
3
LA
more minutes in
wins.
that game, the Lakers win.
Yeah.
You're exactly right. That is a big part of it. It was the adjustments. It was the fact that the Nuggets started jacking up threes for no reason. And it was Nikola Jokic coming up with a couple of clutch boards and a big clutch steal at the end. 45-ish seconds left to play. LeBron James has the ball. The Lakers are down 3. Bron's at the top of the arc. Bron had a good game last night. There's 8 seconds. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Bron puts up a 3 from 3 feet behind the arc with nobody on him. I didn't understand that shot selection. You're down 3. There is plenty of time for you to get another stop and another possession if you knock down the guaranteed deuce. But if you don't make that 3, Denver gets the board and scores, which they did. The Nuggets are up 2 possessions, and now you're inside of 30 seconds left to play. I didn't understand that shot selection from LeBron James, but the ball comes off the rim. Jokic tips it up in the air. Bron follows the shot. He can't get a clean rebound. He comes down. The ball's kind of half in his possession. Nikolai reaches down and just snags it away. He gets fouled. He makes free throws, and suddenly it's a ball game.
So I'm not surprised about the 3-point shot because this definitely happened early on in the game where 3-pointers were being taken when the Lakers weren't even close to being down the court. And I don't understand taking a 3-point shot when you don't have anyone underneath the rim to get offensive rebounds. And the fact that in the next game, I hope they do this, it looked like the Lakers could drive it to the hole anytime they wanted to. And they, for some reason, maybe they're a little punch drunk from all the threes that Golden State was hitting, that they think that they have to have the 3 to win, and I'm not so sure they do. And look at, especially early on, Denver, and everything was dropping. They're like throwing it behind their back over top of their head, and it was going in the rim.
It honestly did for a while feel like LA was just fine with the feel for the basketball, with the feel for the rim. The shots kind of went away from LA late. I think a good chunk of that was because Denver got a little more aggressive defensively towards the perimeter and said, we're not going to give you easy penetration followed by either a layup or a kick. We're going to make you drive the ball in and have to figure out, all right, what's my angle of attack? Which hand am I going with? Which direction am I going? And am I going to shoot or am I going to pass? And suddenly the inside field goal percentage went away a little bit. I'm going to say 2 things. Number 1, despite the bad decision from LeBron, this L was not on LeBron. This L was on the fact that the Nuggets in the first half just whipped the Lakers defense left and right. I'm also going to say this, Lonzo. Lakers are going to take game 2. I think Denver wins the series. But the Lakers are going to win game 2, and we're going to go back to LA split.
They figured something out. They did.
You ain't wrong.
And if Denver doesn't change things, I still think LA's got a shot to win this whole thing.
I absolutely I genuinely think realistically either one of these 2 series or either one of these 2 teams could win this series. But damn if I wasn't impressed with Darvin Ham's adjustments in the late game last night. Let's take a break. We'll come back here in just a minute from right now. If you'd like to be a part of the radio broadcast, now is your opportunity. We got Twitter trending topics to wrap it up. 71307 on the text line. Tweet us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word. It is The Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate.
Chuck Sanders, here's the Sports Flash on the Fan Upstate. The college baseball regular season winding down in this week's D1 Baseball Top 25. Wake Forest is the top team in the country. Clemson 7th.
Cabernet was really
Yeah, someone thought that was a good idea.
so glad we found Ruth.
With the lowest prices for
Now you can't unhear it.
Mm-hmm.
you love and love what you find. Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, be 21.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C. 3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase, make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, any member FDIC.
There's a right way and a wrong way to fight off mosquitoes. Karate chop in the air, in a public place, in front of your kids and their friends, is the wrong way. Using STEM mosquito repellent is the right way. STEM effectively repels mosquitoes by harnessing active ingredients found in plants like lemongrass and peppermint, making it safe for use as directed around people and pets. STEM, rooted in nature, optimized by science, and embarrassment-free.
Finding great people to hire can be like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Their powerful matching technology delivers so many qualified candidates, it's like finding a needle in a needle stack. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. For less hay and more needles, head to ZipRecruiter.
And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
I used to get frequent heartburn at night, so I made Prilosec OTC part of my morning routine.
1 pill in the morning, 24 hours, 0 heartburn with Prilosec OTC. It's possible while taking Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief.
This afternoon, showers, then clouds and sunshine, high of 82.
Weather is brought to you by Beacon.
Beacon has the newest power tool in roofing, the Beacon Pro Plus mobile app. Now through June, purchase online with Beacon Pro Plus and earn up to $1,500. Beacon, always building. From the Ingalls Market Studio, the
Upstate. 97.7 FM Greenville. 97.1 FM Spartanburg.
always live from the Freedom CBS.
Hey, you know the deal. I'm not gonna. The first thing that's trending is Seth Rollins.
Seth freaking Rollins was spotted on the set of the new Captain America movie, Captain America New World Order. He was in an obvious costume, so it is now expected that Captain America is going to star one Seth freaking Rollins, showing you once again the immense popularity of professional wrestling in American pop culture.
So everything that I saw, you don't know if he's in a lead role or if he's just a henchman, but there is the Lizard Order had a guy who was an ex-wrestler who went by the name of Cobra. And that is the speculation, is that Seth Rollins will be Cobra. The next thing that's trending is Trent Reznor.
Trent Reznor, the lead singer of Nine Inch Nails, if I recall correctly. That being said,
Yeah, don't be speculative about that. Diesel will come in here and pummel you.
yeah, he would. Don't know why he's trending though.
Birthday.
Aha. Give Trent Reznor a lot of credit. So he wrote that song Hurt that years later Johnny Cash would record a cover of, and Reznor gave the song to Johnny Cash. He's like, yo, my song was good. That's Johnny Cash's song now. And if you haven't heard that, if somebody ever tells you that songs can make you feel things, Johnny Cash's version of Hurt is what they're talking about.
All right, the next thing that's trending is Bray Wyatt.
So Bray is in an interesting spot in that he has been effectively MIA since the brand split a couple of weeks ago. He is not actively listed on the WWE active roster. So, of course, people have started to ask questions. Is he still there? Is he still part of it? That's not what I really found interesting about that story. So what I found interesting about that story was that according to different reports, WWE actually, somebody in WWE actually mentioned that the Uncle Howdy character has indeed been portrayed by Bo Dallas. So I believe. Now, WWE told a couple of dirt sheeters that the plan is for Bray to return, but he's been dealing with a combination of sickness and injuries. My question is, does he pick up, I'm going to air quote, the storyline when he comes back, Lonzo, or do we get yet another Bray Wyatt reboot?
Nah, he needs to come back as what he was, because it hasn't been played out. This new Bray hasn't been played out.
That's fair. A lot of people feel that way. Ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for today's radio broadcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Glad to have the great one back from his break, his little mini vacation he took there, relaxing in the sunshine.
Yeah, that's my isolation time.
Glad to have you back, big fella. And thank all of you for listening. Appreciate you guys for sticking with us. We'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again, but better on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Later, brother.
By the way, once again, before we sign off, thank you everybody for all the well wishes and stuff. And hopefully my voice will return eventually, or my career path may change.
Stop being dramatic. Nobody likes it.
No, I just meant my delivery. I mean, I'll just have to work on a different delivery.
No, we'll
That's
just
all.
have to make you the news guy on Word.
I'm not cool enough for that.
Sorry, Matthew, you're out. Old man voice is taking over. All right, guys. Thank you all for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being a part of it. You're all spectacular people. We appreciate your time. You're amazing. If you like the show, tell your friends, share it around on social media, hit the like button wherever you're watching this video so we can trick the algorithm into thinking we're important. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.